order, November 21st, Laconia County Council. We'll begin with the public comment session. Not too many signed up. Mr. Al Schuler? Yes? Okay, just a
For
minute.
y'all that don't know
Just-
me,
just-
Michael,
just a minute, please.
excuse me.
Are we not recording? Okay, go ahead.
For y'all that don't know me, my name is Al Schuler. I'm new in the county. I've moved from Florida up here. And I have a couple of questions that I do not understand. And the first one being where there's been talk about the new sewage line passing through Fairplay and going on across the interstate to a piece of developmental property there. And my question is the developer gonna pay for that if the people in Fairplay are not gonna get any use out of it in any way, shape, or form? Then in my opinion, the developer should be the one that pays for that. He's the one that's gonna be getting the usage out of it. The second one has to do with something called Project Omega that I'm not familiar with. I have done, I didn't bring it up, but I am a computer scientist. I worked for the federal government for 25 years doing research. And I've looked through all basically the state laws and everything. But we have a second reading of the following ordinance, and I can't find a first reading anywhere. I've looked back through the minutes for the agendas and then the things, and due to the fact that I don't know what is in the memorandum of understanding, I would at least like to know what's in the memorandum of understanding, when was the first reading, and those types of things. And then there is also an issue there of, is the taxpayer going to get any benefit from it? Those are the two big things that I have right now. I certainly do appreciate y'all taking time to listen to me and see if you can't help me understand some of this stuff.
Thank you. Council member comments?
Yeah, I'll be glad to.
You wanna
We had
address
the, you able to hear me? We had the first reading last week when you were here on that Project Omega on there. And the backup material is on there, and we can get you a copy of that backup material. We have that tonight, Mr. Mulder?
It's in the minutes that haven't
Yeah,
been
it's
approved
in the,
yet.
it's in the minutes on the last, that was the November 7th
That we're about to approve.
meeting. And they're also in the meeting minutes on there. Thank you, Madam Chair. No problem. Yeah, we're just
No.
giving you clarification.
We're about to approve
Yeah.
the minutes from the last meeting.
Yeah, the minutes-
They haven't, they're not posted until they're approved.
Right. Yeah, the minutes for that meeting are going to be approved tonight. But the first reading of that was on the November 7th meeting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Do you want to also address the Fair Play Sewer?
Yeah, be glad to. The Fair Play sewer, the reason for the sewer expansion in there is to increase the economic development in that area. There's several funding sources that come to on there that I'm sure Mr. Mulder can be glad to share it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Ms. Schuler and everyone else in attendance, the intent of that sewer line expansion is to be paid for using grant funds. We're currently seeking and reviewing opportunities to obtain grants to extend that sewer. While back, there was speculation of a development on Exit 1. That has not come to fruition, but our intent is to try and, through the first and second phases, is to extend the sewer to Exits 2 and 4 for prospective economic development. The Fair Play individuals actually will be permitted to tie on to that sewer line. As a matter of fact, one of our first initial intents is to get it to the downtown area of the Village of Fair Play, if you will, so that the commercial businesses who really are asking for sewer service can tie on to it. So the design of it and the intent is for residential and commercial access to that sewer line, with the intent of it being paid for through grant funds that we would apply for. We've had one community meeting. Our intent is to have a second with that community in the Fair Play area, and we actually are also doing surveys that are online and on paper that were handed out at the community meeting to get input from the residences in that area. So that is the intent, and that's how we intend to pay for it as well.
Thank you. Any other council member comments? Okay, well, please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. Mr. Root?
Father, we thank you for this day. You've made it for us to live in it, to rejoice in it, to be glad for our existence. Hearts that are appreciative. To be grateful for. Full of gratitude. Love flows from us to others based on that gratitude. Slow to anger, quick to listen. Guidance. Help the staff to help the council to do good business.
Mr. McCall, the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the November 7 minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mulder?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll provide a brief summary with such a long agenda this evening. First, on the agenda, we have a public hearing for ordinance 2017-26, and then immediately following third and final reading for council's consideration. This ordinance would amend the current fiscal year 2018 budget to provide a few different changes. The first of which, it would allow for more flexibility and adjustment in fees for adoptions at the animal shelter. This came as a request from the Sheriff Mike Crenshaw in hopes of being able to empty out the shelter if it's overcrowded by offering specials, if you will, and a number of other reasons. But it would allow for a little more flexibility up to a certain amount for him to make adjustments in fees for adoptions of dogs and cats. The second item would allow for a change in our annual park pass fee for the county parks to provide a free pass for those people who fall under that classification for veteran, legally disabled, and senior citizens. The final item would be to make a change in the FILO language to allow the council to allocate the FILO revenue on a project-by-project basis and provide them more flexibility as they see fit as they come in. Again, third reading on that ordinance. Second reading, 2017-25. This would be an amendment to our zoning ordinance that would make an adjustment to the small area rezoning classification, which is one of a few different rezoning opportunities. This would reduce the minimum acreage to 50 acres for a small area rezoning. First readings this evening, 2017-28. This would allow the a lease agreement to be signed with the Foothills Farmstead for a portion of the property that adjoins the Oakway School, the current Oakway Community Center that we lease to Fair Oak Youth Center. Next one is ordinance 2017-29. This would be the authorization to go out and seek the lease funding for equipment upgrades at the Oconee County Rock Quarry, not to exceed $6.5 million to purchase that equipment. Ordinance 2017-30, this is a simple restatement of that previous fee to include Eugene Carlton Morris and June Copeland Morris as sponsors. This would provide additional taxing entities into that fee. From what I understand, the individuals invested some of their personal money into that as owners of the business. So in order to qualify that and incorporate them as a taxing entity into the fee, we have to include their names as well. 2017-31, this was an ordinance that would provide an amendment again to our zoning ordinance. It would actually clarify the setback rules associated with multifamily housing in the control-free district. It would apply the setbacks to the exterior walls only and not any adjoining walls you would have, say, in a townhouse or a duplex. So the actual border of the building itself would be used to measure for the setbacks and not the interior wall. No resolutions this evening. Action items, we have drilling services for the Seneca landfill. This is a continuation of previous approvals from councils in the amount of $95,672.50. You see the budget and the balance allocated there. This is part of the DHEC requirements to drill additional wells and remediation of groundwater pollution coming from the landfill on Wells Highway. As you can see, M&W Drilling from Knoxville, Tennessee was the lowest responsive bidder at $86,975, and then with a 10% contingency puts us at a budget of $95,670.50. The next action item we have is roll-off container purchases. This is coming through a DHEC grant. Our portion of this is $4,000 and change to match the majority of it, which is coming from DHEC. This is to purchase additional commercial containers. If you recall, we have started the commercial cardboard program, and commercial recycling program. That's expanding, and we're adding new customers on to that program. So this would help us to expand that, as well as a replacement for containers that we relocated to Westminster and Walhalla. If you recall, we set up convenience centers inside the city limits there for additional recycling opportunities. This would help to replace the cans that we relocated there. And we also are expanding can opportunities for additional materials at some of the convenience centers that fill up recycling containers quite a bit as well. Board and commission appointments, the winning bidder on that one is the New Life Environmental from Easley in the amount of $114,780. Board and commission appointments, you see those listed. No unfinished or new business. Council committee reports from previous committee meetings. We have 3 listed. Executive session for Project Omega, and then second reading on the ordinance for Project Omega in accordance with the MOU stipulations is following the executive session. And that's your agenda for the evening, Ms. Kamick, and we'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, we'll begin with ordinance 2017-26. No one signed up for the public hearing for ordinance 2017-26. If anyone has any comments in this point in time, written comments to our clerk, please. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and close. And we'll just proceed with the third reading then of ordinance 2017-26.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second reading of 2017-25, an ordinance amending Article 8 of Chapter 38 regarding methods of initial rezoning.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
First reading of the following ordinances, ordinance 2017-28, an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a ground lease agreement between Oconee County as lessor and the Foothills Farmstead as lessee.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Ordinance 2017-29, authorizing Oconee County to enter into an equipment acquisition and use agreement. This is for the rock quarry.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Ordinance 2017-30, an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of an amendment to the fee agreement between Oconee County and iTech South.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Scott, where is iTech South located?
Across the street from the Oconee County Commerce Park,
That's right.
beside Litech and also kind of.
Okay, yeah.
And ITT.
That's right, I remember now. Okay, any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Ordinance 2017-31, an ordinance amending Chapter 38 of the Oconee County Court of Ordinance in regards to setbacks for multifamily housing.
Move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Action items, drilling services for the Seneca landfill.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The roll-off recycling containers.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
You said our part was 4,000 or a hundred and?
Yes, sir, it's like $4,300. Hang on.
I heard you say 4,000, just want to make sure that was correct, because I saw 114, so the rest of it is
Is grant,
grant money, and so, which I just want to make sure
$4,280.
is our
our
taxpayers'
portion
money.
that's coming from the budgeted allocations in the solid waste department.
Okay.
But the remaining share is being paid for through a grant, 50,000 in one grant, 60,500 respectively from another grant, so.
And that grant was determined through our writing, or through our
We
departments and
submitted the
stuff?
grant, to DHEC this year. We submit one pretty much every year for different purposes. And we get a grant from DHEC for different purposes every year, pretty much.
Okay,
And that's what we went for this year.
thank you. Appreciate your work in that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, any other comments on the roll-off recycling containers? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Board and commission appointments? Anybody have
I've got
volunteers?
one.
You've got one?
Unless anybody else has one. I nominate Miss Sandra L. Gray to serve in the District 3 seat of the Agricultural Advisory Board.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Unfinished business?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Scott, I went out Saturday and went to one convenience center and said, why are we cardboard was packed in with household garbage. And why are we doing this? We said, well, we can't say nothing to anybody. I said, well, don't the county have a policy about this? We can't say anything. Okay, so I left. Went to other convenience stores where they don't know my ugly face, including changing shirts. And no such, they don't know anything about it. And one of them, I said, well, why can't we I said, could you put a sign out there? I said, we can't put signs out. Can't put handwritten signs out. So I called Ed and got back to the shop, said, look at what's going on here. These people don't know nothing about it. What, we got a policy, right?
No, sir, we don't. We have no policy that says you have to recycle cardboard or any other material.
We gonna have to do something.
We talked about this
stinks.
the solid waste ordinance that's gonna be coming before you has policy regarding cardboard going into the C&D landfill, but not as a requirement for, you put it in there for that one? Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may, Mr. McCall, what I was referring to last meeting is the solid waste ordinance, as well as a litter ordinance have been redrafted, and those are with Mr. Steele right now for his review. We'll have those ready for your next law enforcement committee meeting. And within the solid waste ordinance, there are provisions for, you can delete them or work with them, and the committee can, and then the council can at large. But one of them that I wrote in there was to require cardboard that can be recycled to be recycled at the convenience center. Now, there are other provisions like that, but that is addressed in the new ordinance, and we'll work that through through the procedures that we have to get to make it law. But it's in there.
Scott, well, could we, for a piece of cardboard, magic marker, low cost, send an email out, tell everybody at the convenience center, put a sign up there, no cardboard in household garbage.
We can't unless you give me a regulation to enforce to say that.
It's just saying, don't put it in there. I mean, I can't understand this.
It starts in education. I don't think you can mandate that you're a person standing outside that's trying to do their job to get in constant arguments with somebody who
You're not
doesn't
asking for an
recycle.
argument. You're asking for one stinking sign, a piece of cardboard, and a magic marker.
That would be me falsely enforcing a rule that doesn't exist by putting up.
You're just asking. You're
All right, I'll put in
asking.
there, I'll ask
We,
them on the side.
there is a lot
prefer-
of,
Please
Please do
put cardboard in the
Okay.
recycling bin.
Yes, we will put
Can
that
we do
sign.
that?
there is probably 5 or 6 recycle signs at any given facility, as well as the, Oconee signs and the education and stuff through that. And, I mean, I just don't think it's appropriate to ask our people to tell somebody as they go and throw it in there. I think it gets them into situations that, I'm afraid if we make it so hard for people throwing it in there, they're gonna throw it on the side of the road.
That's good. And then you'll be helping me at the pool come springtime, and you'll be wearing a blue suit, and I'll still have the red on. And I'll be saying, Beverly, tell them to take a toothbrush and scrub that towel. I'm looking for help. Go ahead and throw it on the side of the road.
We'll put a sign up asking them to please not deposit the cardboard into the MSW.
Because it's just costing the taxpayers money.
Oh, I get it. I get it, which is why we're trying to make a legal policy that says that we can enforce it. But we'll certainly put one up.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, Mr. McCall. I understand exactly where you're coming from. I'm just saying the ability to enforce that comes back into what we've continually talked about, which is code enforcement officers. And until we have code enforcement officers in this county, there's a lot of things that we want that we can't enforce, because we can't expect our, sheriff's office to be running around looking for litter when they need to be trying to work on the drug
Asking
problem.
somebody, you're asking. It's
Part,
like,
part of the issue I'm concerned about, once we do have a legal policy and its ordinance and its law that states that they can't throw it in there, what type of enforcement certification are we gonna give to our attendants to actually enforce that law on site? They have no guns, they have no mace, they have no badge, they have, no ability to actually prosecute or enforce it once it happens.
what you do is, you just ask. And sooner or later down the road, it's gonna become like other states and other counties.
But once it's an ordinance, it's not asking anymore, it's law.
Well, you,
I mean, I'm not saying we can't work around it, that's just one of the concerns that we've gotta work through as staff, is how are you going to ordain that particular convenience center worker with the enforcement capability to prosecute that citizen for depositing
You know-
cardboard in the trash?
look, you get a lot more from asking people than you do demanding. You start demanding, you're gonna get in fights and stuff like that. You don't want that.
That's what a policy is going to do. is
Well,
demand.
Ed had the thing, please put the cardboard in the dumpster. Don't throw the garbage in the cardboard.
Hasn't our recycling improved in Oconee County? I mean, the percentage that I have seen that we are taking
All
on the
the efforts
recycle
that
has
we've been doing.
absolutely exploded the amount of recyclables that we're having.
seen
So
a
what we are
50%
doing is working. It's just a matter of people, and I'm sure a lot of us are guilty in this room for getting rid of stuff that could in some way be recycled. But, I mean, we're sitting up here acting like we don't push for recycling, and it has. It's been proven time and time again, the amount of stuff that we have. So what we're doing is working. We just need to do a little bit more of it. And I think, make it simpler. We have done some things in the cities to make it simpler, and maybe we need to work on some, education on home on how to make it simple to recycle. I'm guilty of throwing certain things away, and I'm trying to do my best to recycle. But, from the numbers that I've seen that you showed me, we're going in the right direction. There's less and less going into those, green dumpsters like that you're talking about. So.
We'll be glad to start asking, we'll put a sign up for sure, right above right where they dump it in, asking them to please put the cardboard in.
We're not gonna, I don't think people are gonna intentionally get mad and throw it on the side of the road, because when you do that, we done got 3. I told you about. And, Kevin's got plenty of room down there, if for picking up trash. He's like me, he's always looking for unwilling workers. So I don't think we had that problem. It's just, I found out you get a lot nicer results. Yeah, you don't do this, and, you just ask nicely and you'll get it. Now, you're gonna get some people that are just gonna be, that, wanna go and do something for spite. And then that's why the sheriff's here. He handles spite. We don't handle spite. Thank you.
Any other unfinished business? Any new business? Council committee reports. Budget, Finance, and Administration Committee met November 14th. We discussed various fees and impact fees. We started our conversation with a discussion of our park fees due to complaints from residents about essentially being double taxed. They're taxed to pay for park maintenance, and then they have to pay to enter the parks. So the question was, should we be charging an additional fee for non-residents? And the answer to that is we do for our annual passes, and we do for our camping, but not for day use, and we decided that was good enough. We just go with that for the moment. We had a lively debate over impact fees for new developments, the pros and cons of going in that direction. We didn't conclude anything that evening, but Mr. Root was going to provide us with some more legal information on that topic. We were going to discuss fines and penalties for lake overlay violations. We decided to discuss this topic at a later time since the Planning Commission has revived the lake overlay for more review since there are issues in the lake overlay. We discussed our vehicle replacement plan. We've got a rather hefty number of vehicles that are coming due for replacement, and we're going to have to consider in the next budget year how we're going to fund those. We were going to discuss potential funding for priorities identified by the Recreation Task Force, but they only had one meeting by then. They've had another one since, and I think they're moving in the right direction. And we're going to learn more about that as soon as I finish and Mr. Davis picks up. So that was pretty much the discussion we had in Budget Committee, so now it's your turn.
The Real Estate Facilities and Land Management Committee met November 14th, 2017. We received an update on the Fair Oak Youth Center. Ms. Terry Swain addressed the committee highlighting the following. She is a member of the Fair Oak Youth Center Board. They're in the process of taking over Oak Way and providing recreation. From the Fair Oak Youth Center, they only offer soccer due to unavailability of the facility and had 55 participants. In 2016, they added basketball due to getting the Oakway Intermediate School, had 52 in soccer, 50 in basketball, and had 102 total participants. In 2017, they added volleyball. They had 35 in volleyball, 43 in soccer, 53 in basketball, for a total of 131 participants. They are offering spring volleyball for girls and is the only facility currently offering this in the county. All on a volunteer basis, and they are also adding girls softball in the spring as well. Mr. Tony Adams, a member of the board, also addressed thanking the committee for supporting them in their efforts. He is very confident about the short-term future of the building. Long-term future is beginning to look better due to having the facility fill up with 3 signed subleases. They have 2 pending subleases as well. There's 4 classrooms and a media center left to lease out, and the cafeteria center has been used for several events. They had a movie night on the football field and had over 200 in attendance. The gym floor is in great shape and it stabilized after a dehumidifier was placed in there. They've had no major maintenance or repairs, few minor issues, and the utilities have settled and been under budget as proposed by the county originally. The committee took no further action regarding this meeting. We then began to discuss the new air system at the Oconee County Courthouse. The Honorable Beverly Whitfield, Clerk of Court, addressed the committee highlighting the following to include, but not limited to. They've had several issues with this unit from the beginning of the new courthouse. It was too hot, too cold. Since 2012, issues with the unit had progressed. It was either as cold as 60 degrees or as hot to 80 to 85 degrees. And several people run heaters in the clerk's of court office, which obviously leads to higher utility bills for the county. There's a lot of letters from the jurors stating that they were too hot or too cold, and several complaints from judges, public, and staff. Lake Julian, Director of Facility Maintenance of Oconee County, addressed the committee highlighting the following: that the unit is 15 years old. Units are built due to the age of the chiller. You cannot buy a new compressor. He's gone out at least 5 times, and these units last 15 to 20 years. The contract price on the new unit is best. What we have seen is the increase in costs of maintenance on the old one. If the new chiller needs work, the company has to come out here and fix it and also pay. So this should say if the new chiller that we purchase has an issue, the new company comes out and fix it for that new addition on there. This is a good asset to the county and the courthouse. They're looking at changing how the unit is actually mounted on there so the new one doesn't have an issue of some of the old ones. That is to propose to lift the new chiller off the ground so that more air can get in there. And in this one, we did take action. Madam Chair Kamick made a motion, seconded by Mr. Davis, approved 2-0 to receive 3 quotes for the replacement of the unit up to $130,000 limit to bring back to the committee for approval. And that is a motion that we would recommend tonight. We had an update on the Westminster Magistrate. by Mr. Mulder updated the committee regarding the temporary relocation of the magistrate facility due to security, sanitary, and layout conditions. He has looked into several leasing and purchasing available buildings and also considered renovations of City Hall as a joint facility to share with county council chambers, city council chambers, and a court facility as a more long-term solution, and efforts to find a temporary location in this particular area have been difficult. One option that was presented was the fire station, but due to training and meeting schedules would make it difficult for this to be an option. The fire station is used almost every night for trainings or meetings, and it'd be difficult to hold night court. We took no action during this meeting. Do we need to bring that motion to the table for that from this committee?
Yeah, that'd be great if you could, as a recommendation and a motion to the full council for consideration. We're proceeding with the quotes to bring back to council. This is not a final decision.
Okay.
That final decision is not made until the quotes are considered by council.
Okay. Let me state that motion again for record. Ms. Kamick made a motion, seconded by Mr. Davis, approved 2-0 to receive 3 quotes for the replacement of the unit of the new air system chiller at the Oconee County Courthouse, up to $130,000 limit.
Make a motion.
But does a motion out of a committee need a second or anything?
Mr. Dexter of old would have said it does not need a second. I think a second is fine and is in order.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, and that is the notes on the Real Estate Facilities and Land Management Committee meeting. The Recreation Review Task Force met for the first time on October 24th, 2017. We discussed the mission of the Recreation Review Task Force. I opened up the discussion noting this was a new committee. This was the very first meeting. I thanked everyone for attending and being a part of the committee. I noted that recreation gives youth something to look forward to. Additionally, I noted that when children fall out of recreation, they become a risk in school and society. I noted that the mission of the Recreation Review Task Force should be investing in Oconee's future, and investing in recreation improves education and improves the county. They are the future leaders of Oconee County. We first had a presentation from Westminster by Mayor Brian Ramey and Recreation Director Herb Poole. They offer football, soccer, cheerleading, fall softball, volleyball, basketball, spring baseball, and softball. They've obviously had several budgetary problems and financial constraints that had limited their ability to continue to grow their program. They have people to attend their recreation from Long Creek to Fairplay. They had 852 kids as part of their program, and 589 of those live outside the city limits. That was 2016 data. Their current cost to participate was $30 for inside city and $60 outside city limits. Up next was Seneca, had Rick Lacey. He stated that 75% of their participants are outside the city, and obviously 30% are inside the city. They have 2 museums, events, and beautification crews as part of their recreation. They serve approximately 1,000 kids as part of their recreation, and they have a similar cost to participate, which is $30 inside city, $60 outside. Walhalla's John Gabarth, who is their recreation director, and their administrator, Brent Taylor. They serve 1,132 kids total in the recreation program. 404 are inside city limits, and 728 are outside city limits. That was 2016 data. They don't offer sports to older age groups due to the unavailability of facilities, and the high schools have some sort of use on the program for a lot of those. They use not only the gym at the old high school, but they also use the Oconee Academy gym. They have 30 basketball teams ages 4 through 14, and their cost is similar, $30 inside city, $70 outside city, and they have 2 salary employees and 1 hourly. I had a presentation from Salem by Travis Oliver, who is he is a city council member, no, what is he, Mr.
Water.
Cammett?
He works in the water department.
Water Department, and David Polson, who is the, one of the acting city managers for them. They noted that they were one of the smallest recreation departments in the county. They offer soccer, basketball, and baseball, and they have about 100 participants, and they have about 90% outside of city limits. And they just have a flat rate, $40. Fair Play in Oakway, Terry Swain, who's on the board, and Derek Burdette, who's on the board, and both of those are avid volunteers for the Fair Oak Youth Center. They offer softball, basketball, soccer, and volleyball, and they have a flat rate of $60 per participant on there. And obviously, there's no city, so everybody is outside of the county there. Also had a presentation from Oconee County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Mike Crenshaw and Corporal Charles Mulwee, and they were talking about how recreation affects 4,000 or more youth in Oconee County. They currently have 9 resource officers in Oconee County. A lot of these are volunteering and coaching groups throughout the recreation. One of the biggest alarming things that they see is the increasing number of juveniles that they see entering crime at a young age of 13 to 14. They are working on a budgeting system to show what they are spending on juvenile programs as well. There's been several notations where they have actually came back to the county and asked for more money to continue to fund this, as it costs them $45 a day for each juvenile that is incarcerated or put into a juvenile type program, if you don't want to call it incarceration. They feel like recreation is a direct impact on keeping these kids out of trouble. Corporal Charles Mulwee works with a lot of travel teams that helps kids to maintain recreational offerings on there. A lot of these are obviously scholarship kids that he works with on there. The biggest thing that they have found is a lot of these kids cannot afford the recreation fees, no matter how small they are in the county, and then they fall out of recreation and into crime. Recreation provides role models and mentoring, and we're again working on another presentation from the Sheriff's Office that we'll have. Mr. Mulder asked each representative to submit their numbers, their budget numbers, to him by email. So we will be creating a spreadsheet and run the analysis. And Mr. Phil Shirley, Oconee County Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Director, thanked everyone for what they do and noted how big of a difference they're making in the county. He noticed, let's see, he does not. But he, again, along with me, both discussed that we are not wanting any type of county-wide recreation, because we feel like it is very important for the cities to continue their recreation, as it gives them a tourism aspect. Mr. Brent Taylor, Walhalla City Administrator, addressed the committee, noting that he has worked in recreation most of his career. He noted the discussion was mainly about youth athletics and what the overall goal was, and he further noted the variety of interests could also be in adults and seniors. Ms. Janet Hartman from Destination Oconee addressed noticing the challenges are great, and continue to sit down and bring priority items to put in a list is important. Mr. Mulder finished the meeting by stating to each representative to present their budget going back 5 years, revenue broken down, total participants, and expenses broken down by sport. And the meeting that we had was actually tonight. These minutes were motion to approve by Mayor Brian Ramey, seconded by Derek Burnett, and all in favor. As you can see, that was a lot that we had in about an hour and 30 minutes, and appreciate that. But we did get a lot accomplished on there. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, next we need to recess for executive session for a discussion regarding an economic development matter, Project Omega.
Madam Chair?
Huh?
Mr. McCall, are you remaining recused from this matter? All right, so before we take up the vote to go to executive session, I believe Mr. McCall would need to exit.
All right. Goodbye. Goodbye.
I ain't split it and parade rest for an hour like I did last week.
Okay, so once again, recess to executive session to discuss Project Omega.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Convene.
So move.
Second.
No action was taken in executive session?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make a
We need to
motion.
vote on that motion to reconvene, right?
Oh. Okay, let's start again. Motion to reconvene.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
No action.
No action was taken in executive session.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve second reading following ordinances. Ordinance 2017-27, ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of the memorandum of understanding, MOU, by and between Oconee Economic Alliance, the OEA, Oconee County, Project Omega, which memorializes and authorizes certain economic development incentives for Project Omega, including the transfer by the county to OEA of approximately 22 acres of county-owned real property located within the Oconee Industry and Technology Park, along with the economic development funds to be determined on a basis of 3 appraisals for the purpose of OEA facilitating the construction of a building to house the expansion of Project Omega's manufacturing facilities, and authorizing the acceptance by the county of ownership of Project Omega's existing manufacturing facility for future use of resale. Also authorizing the execution of all other agreements necessary to give effect to the MOU, all contingent on certain investment and the creation of jobs by Project Omega, and all other matters related thereto.
Second.
Any discussion? I'd like to make a few comments regarding Project Omega. I have absolutely no problem giving the 22 acres. We often give land to industry. I have no problem providing the additional grading. We often assist with grading and infrastructure. I have no problem with the FILO. Those are pretty standard. I only object to the purchase of the existing building and placing the onus on the county to sell it without incurring a loss, then having to seek reimbursement from the owner should the building remain vacant for 4 years. We aren't rolling in the dough. If we would, we wouldn't be having this conversation. In the current fiscal year, there are limited funds set aside for economic development. In order to purchase the building, we will likely have to dip into the next fiscal year's fund. That should tell us we cannot afford this transaction. The fact that we had to eliminate 15 positions to balance our budget is also a good indication that money is in short supply. The fact that we are facing more constraints on our budget, the increasing obligations to the South Carolina Retirement Fund, the recent request by Westminster to subsidize their recreation program to the tune of $300,000 might also suggest we shouldn't give away our last dime. Purchasing the building on top of all the other incentives is a door we don't want to open. This would increase future costs of economic development not only to us, but to neighboring counties as well. There are other worthy projects still awaiting funding, helping Salem extend their water lines beyond the town limits so as to help county residents who lack a reliable source of water. I've been begging for this assistance for 2 years now? We recently attended the town hall meeting in Oakway regarding the Fairplay Sewer Project. Sure, we are looking to receive a grant for this, but there are always ancillary costs. Project Omega is the expansion of an existing business, and as much as we'd like to help, we simply cannot afford the complete package deal requested. It's time to say, please accept what we can afford. I've heard through the grapevine the threat, if we don't get what we want, we will pack up and leave. That attitude I have no patience for. It should not be rewarded lest others are encouraged to do the same. If a better deal is available somewhere out there, God bless you. The first time I heard the details of Project Omega proposal, the first words out of my mouth were, with what money? Those are my last words too. With what money? We simply cannot afford this entire package. Having said that, I'd like to offer an amendment that we provide the 22 acres, the grading, and the FILO, but exclude the purchase of the building. That is a motion, and I'd like a second on it.
Second.
Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment? Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
At this point, Madam Chair, the original motion is back on the floor.
Back on the table. Okay, so the original motion is back on the table. Any further discussion on the original motion? All in favor of the original motion?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Okay, we're stuck. I'm sorry.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Should we call Mr. McCall back in before we adjourn?
Yeah?
I
Wayne?
don't know if he's here.
He's fine, you still have a quorum.
Okay, that's fine, I just didn't know if we needed anybody.
He told me he's leaving.
But if he's gone, let's go ahead, sorry.
Do we know that for a fact?
You still got a quorum.
That's fine.
Okay,
And he's gone, you can adjourn.
all right.
That was second on Glenn, right? You got that?
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.